My name is Nombuleli Duma. I started working at Lalanat in 2002. That was after I had done my internship at university, and then they came looking for someone who could speak Zulu. And in my class, I was the only one who could speak Zulu, so I had to go for the interview, and everything is history. What I've noticed is the importance of talking about the feelings involved in the bereavement process. In that, in my family, I've been lucky to have people with whom I could share my experiences, even though not all of them, but I got to realize the importance of talking about the feelings that are associated with loss. And Lalanati as well, the kind of work that we do, we help children deal with the feelings that they have and somehow give them the opportunities or give them ideas on how to cope with their loss.
So can you give me a couple of examples of exercises that you use doing the arts where nothing else would have worked? It's specifically using the arts that works best in that situation.
Okay, of the exercises that use art, I will mention two in particular. We have one where we ask the children to draw the profile of themselves, and then they mention stuff that make them happy, that they don't like about themselves, people that matter in their lives, and people that are in their hearts, to sort of make them realize that even though they're experiencing loss, there is stuff that is important with them, and then there are people who still care about them, and that the people that they've lost, because they might sometimes put them in their hearts, that they still matter as well, even though they are no longer physically with them. So that's one that we use. The other one is using clay. We use clay in two ways. Firstly, it is to help them deal with the stuff that they didn't get to say. We call that unfinished business. With the clay, they make objects depicting the stuff that they would have liked to have or to have said to their late parents, and then they use the voice, like they would say, I would have loved to have a bicycle, and then they would also use the voice like of the deceased, saying what is it that they think would have been the response from their deceased. So in that way, we give them an opportunity to say the stuff that they didn't get to say and to get the responses that they didn't get to get. We also use clay to help them deal with anger. Like they would make objects that had made them angry or that represents the situation in which they were angry, and thereafter they work in pairs to share about what is it that had made them angry, and then we help them express the anger using clay. And the reason why we use clay is for them, to sort of make them realize that there are ways of expressing anger that do not injure themselves or others. And on top of that, we're trying to make them see or help them realize that anger is a feeling that needs to be expressed, because in most cases they feel like expressing anger is something that is not good, or talking about it is something that is not good. So with the activities of clay, we help them realize that it is a feeling that is worth talking about, but what matters most is the expression of that anger. And after that, we talk about what other ways that they think might be helpful to express their anger without hurting themselves or hurting others. When we're working with girls and boys, we do not do it differently. We work quite the same way, but the difference is with I'd say teenagers. Teenagers are sort of sensitive to the opposite genders. So what we do is that when it comes to sharing, we try and make our groups to be of equal genders, maybe 6 boys, 6 girls, so that when it comes to sharing, they'll share in pairs, 2 boys, two girls, and all of that. Because what we've noticed is that girls in particular are not that comfortable pairing with boys when they share emotional stuff. So what we do is we try and keep it same sex, same gender when it comes to sharing. But otherwise, everything that we do is inclusive of all genders.
So what have you learned in your work, and specifically around your work with the arts that you think other grassroots organizations in Africa could use?
Working with arts, I think other grassroots organizations could learn like with the use of the drawings, the meat drawings, because the meat drawings sort of help the individuals realize the strengths they have within themselves that they can use in times of trouble. Because in most cases when people are experiencing trouble or problems, they don't realize that they've got something within themselves of which can make the situations better. So the use of the myth drawings can be very helpful. I think the use of clay as well can be helpful in that it is a form of expressing anger without hurting others, like I have mentioned earlier. And on top of that, the use of eco-maps. Eco-maps, it's when they sort of draw circles and mention what kind of relationships they have with different parts of their society. Again, that is to help them realize the strengths they have within their communities, because you might find that a person has some strengths within themselves but would need to connect with other people to sort of make those strengths come to life. So those are the three that I think other grassroots organizations can benefit a lot from.
You work a lot with youth and who work in the community through Dalanati. How do you think doing this work helps them with their own lives? How does being involved in the work help them in other areas of their lives?
I think working with the youth in the developmental work helps them a lot in that they get to find ways in which themselves and the youth can have like a meaningful contribution to the society at large. And again, they get to see the strengths they have within themselves and to refine them. For example, with planning, we do stuff that will include lots of planning, organization. They get to organize their time effectively. And again, to sort of realize the strengths that they have, because most of them get to, after the loss of their parents, they get to take care of their small siblings. So working with them sort of makes them cope with all these difficulties that are brought to them with regards to losing their parents. And again, I think working with the youth also gives them that sense of meaning, because they know that whatever they'll be doing, they're doing it to the best of their ability. Because when working with them, again, we do not use sort of judgmental attitude. Whatever they'll be doing will be good, considering the situation they'll be in.
How do you identify people in the community who could benefit from support from Dalanati?
With that, our model, we sort of base it more on invitation, choice, and participation. We sort of go to the community, explain to them how our program or how our programs operate, and then we ask those who are interested to take part in the program to take part, and then we leave it up to them to choose whether they want to participate or not. If they choose to, then we form groups. In the family support group, we got 10 participants. In the children groups, we mostly work with the people that we have trained to sort of run the kind of work that we do, to identify the children who are bereaved in their communities. Because since we work with the people in their communities, we believe that the community members are the experts of their community. So they're the one who help us identify the children who need our services. And again, we've also got other children who've been in the program, identifying other children who might need help. So they bring those to us, and then we let them be in the list from the caregivers. Then when time allows, we get to work with them. And when working with them, we spend about 2 to 3 years in the community. So it might happen that we have maybe a list of 90 people, but since we work in numbers, other people might not be seen, say, in this period. But after we are done with the first group, we'd have another group with the rest of the people.
Can you talk a bit about what it's like to be a man working in the caring profession? Are there many other men in Dalanati or
noticed that there are very few men who do this kind of work. And as we speak at Lalanati, I'm the only man. I call myself a rose among thorns. What I have noticed there is that somehow when we are brought up, it's that men do not have to be in this kind of work, carrying work. They have to do kind of hard labor. So for me, being in this environment, it is, for me, it makes me feel like an ambassador or a role model to show that those kind of stereotypes are stereotypes. It's not that men cannot do this kind of caring work. So for me, like I say, I'm an ambassador for other males, and I sort of, in every setup that I meet men, sort of encourage them to take part in this kind of work. Because with the making of children, it's not ladies who are involved, men are also involved. And in the past, as men, we've been regarded as monsters. So in a way, it's also to try and change that, to make people see that not all men are monsters. If maybe we give love, patience, and compassion, we might have a positive impact in children's lives. And what I've noticed is that as men, we play such a huge role in the children's lives, in making them believe that they can do stuff themselves. So I guess somehow being a man in this also encourages the young men to be caring and to be sensitive about life in general.
5 years, what kind of things, which areas of Dalanati's work do you think need to grow, or would you like to see grow? What do you think Dalanati can do next?
With Dalanati in 5 years, I hope Dalanati would have a fully functional youth wing in that somehow throughout our work, the youth has been left out. We just started recently to include them as well in the work that we do. I say a fully functional youth wing in that we've realized, working with the few youth that we've worked with, that working with the youth is something that is important, because the youth somehow get to be the people who care for the other siblings, and youth are at a stage whereby they are at a transition between being children and adults. So working with the youth will also help the youth get to be in this adulthood stage pretty prepared. And in that way, I believe the youth would also have a huge impact in helping other youth sort of be sensitized to this kind of work, and hopefully more men would be involved as well, because youth, they also get to have peer pressure. So if many, say, boys are in this, other boys might be encouraged to join in. So I feel that in 5 years' time, Dalanati would have that wing fully operational. And again, I would like it if Dalanati would be in a position to sort of do more of this kind of work, not only in the rural area, in the urban areas, but in the deepest of the rural areas, and with more funding from people like the foundation, Stephen Lewis Foundation, and maybe to encourage many of our people back home to have that helping hand, and do not have to be in this kind of work, caring work. They have to do kind of hard labor. So for me, being in this environment, it is, for me, it makes me feel like an ambassador or a role model to show that those kind of stereotypes are stereotypes. It's not that men cannot do this kind of caring work. So for me, like I say, I'm an ambassador for other males, and I sort of, in every setup that I meet men, sort of encourage them to take part in this kind of work. Because with the making of children, it's not ladies who are involved, men are also involved. And in the past, as men, we've been regarded as monsters. So in a way, it's also to try and change that, to make people see that not all men are monsters. If maybe we give love, patience, and compassion, we might have a positive impact in children's lives. And what I've noticed is that as men, we play such a huge role in the children's lives, in making them believe that they can do stuff themselves. So I guess somehow being a man in this also encourages the young men to be caring and to be sensitive about life in general.